UFC 213 is this Saturday night live on pay-per-view. It is headlining the biggest combat sports week of the year, International Fight Week. Two best bantamweights on the planet, Amanda Nunes is taking on Valentina Shevchenko. So I thought, why not bring in one of the best bantamweights to ever do it, Miesha Tate. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure.
So what I thought we would do is we're going to go back and watch Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko, the first fight from 16 months ago. We're going to dive into the matchup, talk a little bit about what it's going to be like on Saturday night and how things have changed in 16 months. And a lot has changed. I mean, if you look back, these were two bantamweights that were kind of, rising in the division. At UFC 196, this fight happened. You won the championship that night. So now fast forward a little over a year later and the landscape of 135 is completely different.
It's completely different. Amanda has made huge waves in the division. She's grown a lot, not just as a fighter, but as a champion. It's one thing to fight and evolve, but it's totally another thing to have the pressure of being the champion. You're always fighting the next best person, and she definitely has her hands full, I think, in this fight with Valentina Shevchenko, which is actually a rematch.
So in the beginning stages here, real slow out of the gates. Amanda was looking to, land her power. Shevchenko looking to be kind of the counter striker. Maybe some, a lot of people I don't think talked about this, but maybe some octagon jitters still for Shevchenko. She had just fought Sarah Kaufman, and then it's her second fight in the UFC, and a lot of people were saying this was a title eliminator fight.
Yep.
I mean, what do you think she's feeling like in there against Amanda in this high-profile fight?
Well, it can take a couple fights, and especially that this was a big fight card. So, it's not a small event. This was a very big event. So I'm sure Valentina was feeling the pressure, and she has a lot of kickboxing experience, but she's still evolving as a mixed martial artist. And we saw that improvement with when she fought Juliana Pena. She is evolving, and that's why this is so fascinating. I just feel like they're in such a growth spurt, both of these ladies, of their career, that they're changing every single fight. You can see something that they've brought to the table that they didn't bring before. So granted that this is a rematch, I feel like this is a completely different fight.
Mm-hmm. I heard in a recent interview you said that you still haven't watched your fight with Amanda, but I think that it's important to talk about the level of power we're talking about here with her. She kind of stands out in a division because of her power. Her coach said she kind of hits like a 155-pound male fighter. I mean, talk about that. What's her power really like in there?
I feel like that's pretty accurate. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's crazy because it looks like it's effortless. She really is made to strike. Amanda was built to do this, and she's so long. You don't realize that you're right at the end of her striking zone and that power that she delivers, and then she's hitting you, and it's like, wait, where did that come from? And she's incredibly powerful and efficient, and it's effortless. Like I said, it doesn't look like she's hitting that hard, but when you actually feel it, when you're on the end of it, she definitely hits like a dude.
Mm-hmm. Very good take.
Yeah, so.
What were you feeling like on this night? I mean, obviously this is a championship title fight at UFC 213. 196, you finally captured your title. I mean, what's it like in this big moment? Like walking out to the octagon? I don't think like even, fans and people that are involved in the sport can really put themselves in that mind frame. It's such a big moment.
Yeah,
what's that like?
It's so hard to recreate with words because it's just, it's hard to put that kind of emotion into words to really explain to someone what it's like. But it's like you're about to take a huge dive off of a cliff into some water and it's just unknown, and it's like you've been preparing for this huge moment, but you're about to take the dive. So it's that like heart racing, kind of exhilarating. If anybody's ever went like cliff jumping or something like that, it may be something kind of similar to that lead up, that anticipation, that, oh, I gotta do this, but then there's so much more behind it, so much work you've put into it. So it's just quite a roller coaster of emotions, to be honest, on fight night.
So fighting, cliff diving, pretty much two things I would never do. So I guess I'm never going to understand what it's like to be a champion.
Or maybe parachuting, jumping out of a plane, something like that. It's like that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's not much better. You see in the first round here, Amanda Nunes, very comfortable. We're coming up on about a minute and a half left in this fight. But she's looking for an opening, I feel like. She's trying to, land something big, and she's winging that right hand. But then when the takedown happens at the end of the first round, I feel like it's like a little, mental mental game begins, and she's like, okay, now I know
can do that.
I can do this.
Yeah.
And the fight's going to be different, and we see that as we get to the second round.
Huge confidence booster for Amanda getting that takedown in the round. And here you see Amanda was heavily criticized before this fight in her career for gassing out, for being a front runner in this game. And I believe moving to American Top Team and training in a place that's gonna, hey, let's hold it back, we have 5 rounds to prepare for, is gonna be a huge difference for her. Because you see her starting slower in this round. You know, that's not something typical of her. This is her evolution as a fighter beginning in this fight. Granted, she still got tired because she's still winging those punches that aren't landing. You know, it's a feeling out process, but she's still throwing everything with a ton of heat. She came into the next couple fights, I feel like she really paced herself well. You know, she didn't overcrowd. Her distance control was great. So again, what I'm talking about is her evolution as a fighter. She's no longer this front runner who's just going to get exhausted in the first round. And this is the beginning of it. She does begin to gas out in the third round, but before we would see Amanda getting tired in the first round. You know, so again, she's been evolving, and this was 16 months ago. You know, she's had a lot of fights since then. She has a lot of experience, and I think she's really settled into her gym nicely.
You talk about Amanda, and you know, there's much been made about like the buzz around this fight. I mean, you know, this being the main event, I'm super stoked for it. I think she's one of the most must-see champions that we have on the roster. But you always kind of chronicle a career, and you wonder, when does a champion go from champion to kind of superstar? For you specifically, when did you feel the shift of like, okay, people know me, but now I'm really on that next level?
Well, I think when I was on The Ultimate Fighter, that was a huge changing point. You know, women were just being brought into the UFC. I was coaching opposed Ronda Rousey. It was the first time we had females on The Ultimate Fighter. So a lot was kind of going on behind that. There was a lot of build up to that title fight. And I think that helped, you know, put my name on the map, so to speak. And obviously I think those, you know, very tenacious, difficult fights that I had, you know, winning those 5 fights, you know, against people that people know are amazing, like Sarah McMahon and Jessica Ai and those girls, to get to the point where I got to fight Holly. You know, all of that kind of helps. So, you know, it's time in the sport, it's winning fights, and I think Amanda is on that cusp. You know, what she's doing right now is breaking ground. She's setting a precedence. You know, I think her win over myself, her win over Ronda Rousey are huge, and I think it's boosted her stardom and her visibility, her, you know, appeal tremendously. You know, and something else I love about her is she really is who she is. She's not conforming to the mold. You know, she's the first openly gay champion, I believe, in the UFC. And you know, these are things that people are going to come to love about her, because she really represents who she is. And it's just time. She's breaking ground, she's breaking barriers. You know, and that's all that it is. It's all just time.
Oh, that's great. And here, finally, Amanda gets the takedown, waited for Valentina to make mistakes. She does, grabbed that single leg and finished it. And then once on the ground, I mean, it's kind of more of the same from Amanda. We talk about her power standing up. On the ground, it's more power. The explosion that she showed in this fight, the way she kind of sliced her up a little bit, landed from half guard. I mean, how impressed were you with this portion of the fight?
Well, you know, Amanda has a really good ground game, and she's very, very aggressive, and I like that about her. I enjoy that because she stays busy on the ground. She's wanting to do damage there. She's not just looking for submission. She's looking to open someone up, to find those places to land the power shots, to land elbows, to do damage, and I enjoy seeing that come from her. So I think that will be there in this fight for sure. That's something that she's had for a very, very long time. I've seen her use these skills, you know, since back in Invicta, you know, before she's ever part of the UFC. This is a part of her game that's been there, and it's going to stay there. So I'm sure she'll get this fight to the ground at some point and be working to do a lot of damage.
And Shevchenko showed that the evolution of her game against Pena when she, you know, was able to finish with that armbar. Very impressive. Who do you think, between the two of them, I mean, Amanda's come so far, but who has kind of elevated their game more in the 16 months since the last time they fought?
That's what's so crazy. I feel like Amanda's elevated her game in the sense that she's learned to harness and regulate when she is explosive and when she's not. Now, Valentina, I mean, I've been so impressed with her takedowns. I've been so impressed with that because I know that's not her background, that's not her forte, and she looked so good when she fought Juliana Pena, and getting that submission, that shows she's evolving in her weakness. And, you know, Amanda, I think she's got that judo, and she's got more of the grappling background, but she's evolved obviously tremendously in her striking. She's been knocking girls out and doing really well. So I think it's difficult to say who's evolved more, but they've evolved in opposite areas. Mm-hmm. So they're becoming more well-rounded. Mm-hmm. So I that's what really makes me excited about this fight. Is I feel like we can all look at the first one and speculate, but I truly feel like in 16 months so much has changed for both of these ladies. You would never have thought that, you know, Valentina is going to come out against a grappler and get a submission victory, and you know, you wouldn't think that you know, Amanda's going to knock out Ronda Rousey in a minute. You know, mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy what these girls are doing, and they're so explosive. I really think that in the bantamweight division, these are the two most explosive athletes we have. Mm-hmm. The two most explosive female athletes out there. So, I mean, when they get takedowns, they're hard and they're mm-hmm. powerful. When they land punches, they're hard and they're powerful and they're quick. And this is going to be a very, very good fight.
What do you think of, you know, we're just starting to see, you know, behind the curtain for Shevchenko. I mean, you watch her on Embedded, and she goes on these little shooting sprees, and yeah. She's, you know, she's very focused. This is all that she does, it seems like. Yeah. I mean, she moves around the world and trains. We've been impressed with, I don't know, impressed, but what do you make of her just entire disposition?
I like her. I like her mentality. I think she really embodies what you would think a fighter would be made of. You know, she's again, she's who she is, and she's like a tomboy. You know, she's a little mm-hmm. bit of a tomboy. She's mm-hmm. rough around the edges, and I dig it. I think it's great. I think she brings a different element to fighting, and I like her style. I love that she gets out and she does. You know, and this is one thing I was going to say about Shevchenko. For not having a grappling background, she really does not make a lot of mistakes. I watch her on the ground, and she doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You know, she's in trouble here, but she's doing the right thing. She's keeping her chin tucked. She's keeping her calm. You know, a lot of people panic when they get in positions like that, and they tap because they're scared. They don't know what's going on, or you know, it's uncomfortable. That is not Valentina. You know, she's doing the right thing. She's being outclassed on the ground, but she's not being submitted. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing where I think she's improved a lot. And the fact that defensively, she's already really solid. I'm watching this fight from 16 months ago, and she's very, very solid defensively. Now we're beginning to see her offense. So that's going to give anybody problems on the ground, because she's going to exhaust people. People mm-hmm. are going to be squeezing and pulling, and she's just staying tight and calm. That's going to make people tired. Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like, we'll get to it in the third round, that she lands a nice elbow that Joe Rogan on the broadcast brought up, as he thought that was kind of the changing point, like Amanda looked rocked. But it was almost like in that moment, I felt like the tide turned when, you know, she got out of that choke, which with Amanda Nunes on the ground, like you said, is so high level. Uh-huh. To get out of that choke, to then turn around, get on top to finish the round, that's a huge momentum shift.
Absolutely. Yeah. For her, this whole fight, the way that it unfolds is interesting. You know, they both have like a championship mindset, because the first round is a lot of respect, it's a lot of feeling out, it's a lot of figuring out, and then they figured each other out. Mm-hmm. That's what's interesting. And you see, you know, Amanda get that takedown in the second round, and her confidence begin to gain. But Shevchenko realizing, hey, I can hang on the ground. I'm not going to get finished here. I don't want to get taken down, but I can survive. That's a mental shift towards her and away from Amanda. And then look at this beautiful takedown here of Shevchenko. I mean, it's incredible that she's able to do that. And again, she's so athletic, she's so explosive, and I really feel like her coaches have done a beautiful job of having her focus on the key important things. She doesn't have to know everything about grappling. She needs to know the basics like the back of her hand, and she does it. She has her far side underhook here. She had her hips in well for her takedowns. She stays tight. She doesn't get out of position. She does a lot of really, really technically solid, sound things on the ground that are, it's just impressive to know she doesn't have an extensive grappling background, because it looks like she does. Mm-hmm.
It was really impressive in the Holly Holm fight. I felt like Valentina, it's been said, kind of out Holly homed Holly home. I mean, she was quick on the counter. She was quick to get out of the way. Something that Holly's kind of made her name on in the UFC. Against Amanda, how important is that going to be in the rematch? Because, you know, she's saying that she's training for 5 rounds now. Like, she was training for a 3-round fight before. Now she's training for 5. I mean, how important is winning the striking exchanges? Maybe say the fight never goes to the ground.
Well, if the fight never goes to the ground, you know, Valentina has a lot of experience on the feet, and she is so fast and she's so quick. That's where I feel like Amanda's going to have problems. Granted, Amanda's striking is good and she hits hard, but Valentina is small for the division, so she's very, very quick. And she also, you know, delivers very, very powerful punches. And something we haven't discussed yet is the stance. That Valentina is a southpaw. You know, I think you were saying earlier that Amanda wasn't as familiar with fighting a southpaw, you know, in this fight, as she feels like she'll be better prepared for it the second time around. You know, but Valentina, that's her bread and butter. You know, she's a southpaw. She knows how to utilize that. So I give the striking advantage to Valentina. I think she's faster and she's more dynamic and she's used to fighting orthodox fighters, where Amanda's gonna have to, you know, adjust again to fight a southpaw. So I think that's going to be a factor as well.
So pretty much you'd say this is a can't miss, must see title fight.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot wait for this fight, and I'm so excited that they got the main event because I really truly feel like they deserve it. Their finishing rate is some of the highest, you know, in the female divisions. We have Amanda coming in on 2 knockouts in a row and many finishes earlier on in her career, and then you have Valentina, who is the knockout artist who beat Holly Holm, and one of the best strikers in the women's bantamweight division, outstruck Holly Holm, and then finished her last fight with a submission. Like, how cool. These ladies know how to finish fights. That's what people love to see. So granted, it's scheduled for 5 rounds. I really think that this fight will see a finish.
One thing I think that's really cool when talking to fighters is kind of getting peeks behind the curtain as to how you prepare for these types of fights and fights in general. Both of these women, actually, their main sparring partner for this camp specifically were strawweights. Rose Namajunas for Valentina, and then obviously Nina Ansaroff for Amanda. You would think that you would want to go up in weight to prepare for, you know, a fight, so it seems like, you know, a little bit less when you get inside the octagon. But what's the advantage of maybe sparring with a 115-pounder?
Speed, I would say. They're so fast that it really pushes you to be quick, and I think that's going to be a big benefit to Amanda, more so because Valentina is so quick. I think that training with Nina, you know, and Nina is a big 115-pounder, so it depends where they're at in camp. You know, when Nina is out of camp, you know, she's probably walking around 130, 135-ish, and, you know, Amanda's coming down, so at that time they won't be at too much of a size discrepancy. And you know, Rose is a very, very dynamic. She does those spinning axe kicks. She does a lot of things too. So these girls are wonderful at that division. You know, so I guess it's just that surprise element and the speed really is going to be the big factor. And that's what's the benefit to gain. You know, I enjoy sparring smaller people sometimes too because it's pushing me to be faster.
Well, we did it. We're at the end of 15 minutes here. Great first fight. Second one is likely going to be more the same, if not better. This Saturday night, live on pay-per-view. Don't miss it. Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko. Miesha Tate, thank you so much for joining us. This was fun. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. I'm just watching these late. I'm so interested in this fight. I honestly can't wait for this fight to happen. I'm excited for it.
Awesome. Well, for Miesha Tate, I'm Matt Parrino, and we'll see you Saturday night.